He's vicious.
Left-right combination.
The monster.
A fearsome flurry, and he's got him with a left.
I think that dude really is pound number one.
Naoya Inoue is a descendant of samurais who has been performing public executions in the ring for 13 years with no losses. With dynamite power in his fists, Inoue leaves no chance for his opponents. This earned him his fearsome nickname, Monster. In this video, you will learn how this little guy rose to the pinnacle of the boxing world from the very bottom. This is Boxing Game. Here we go. The future Jack the Ripper of the boxing world was born in April 1993. His father, Singo, was a former boxer, and he dreamed that his son would follow in his footsteps. Therefore, he started training his son from an early age. This soon paid off, as there were no worthy opponents left for Inoue in the sea of amateurs. Thus, he decided to enter the ocean of professional sharks, with his father as his main cornerman, signing a contract with Ohashi Boxing Gym, under the condition that he would never be given weak opponents. His debut fight took place in October 2012. At that time, Japanese Jack the Ripper had just begun his journey in the super flyweight division, and his opponent was the Filipino champion Boyeaux, with a professional record of 16-4. It seemed that the more experienced Boyeaux would easily defeat the rookie, who had just stepped into the professional ring. But in the fight, Inoue immediately began proving that he was a force to be reckoned with, fully justifying his fearsome nickname, Monster. He delivered his punches as if with a sniper rifle, yet his shots didn't just land on the ears, but directly on Boyeaux's face. But Boyeaux, realizing that a fair win wasn't possible, decided to follow the Rat's covenants and throw a cheap shot after the bell. Furious at such dishonesty, Inoue, like Gordon Ramsay, began preparing rat foie gras from the coward's liver, thus announcing that the future king had begun his rise. The next victim of the Japanese Reaper was another professional boxer with more experience than Inoue, named Ngao Prajan Chuatana. Their fight began, and Chuatana, thinking that the newcomer had just been lucky in his first fight, began attacking Inoue too aggressively, thinking he would get away with it. But Inoue decided to show that this was not the case. In the end, winning turned out to be much easier than pronouncing his opponent's name. Inoue won and proved that there were tons of dynamite in his hands, and he had no intention of stopping. Next on Inoue's path to glory, another obstacle appeared in the form of the more experienced Yuki Sano, and this fight promised to be the first serious test in the career of the hero of our video. As soon as the referee allowed them to clash, Inoue immediately started trying to send Sano to the land of Morpheus, but his attempts were unsuccessful, as Sano dodged the punches like Neo. Then, Sano decided to offer a taste of his own lunch of punches, which severely shook the monster's confidence. But the character forged in Inoue by his father soon made itself known, as Inoue began to start a revolution in the ring. It was as if Inoue transformed the ring into his playground, completely destroying Sano like a sandcastle.
となるでありその右ストレートありません。ただやや浅かったでしょうか。かわしての第2ラウンドを取りました。前方セッターの左フック。しかし
And in the final round, the Japanese killer began pounding his fists into Sano's head, but apparently, the referee got tired of seeing the one-sided beating of the already exhausted fighter, so he stopped the fight, deciding to preserve at least a bit of Sano's health. After this fight, Inoue was to face the fight for the Japanese championship title. His opponent was Ryoichi Taguchi, who would later hold the WBA and IBF belts. The fight promised to be far from easy, but there was no turning back. As soon as the bell rang, Inoue immediately began targeting Taguchi's head with his cannons. Inoue's fists seemed to perform a surgical operation without anesthesia, as the gloves in his hands were as dangerous as a scalpel in a surgeon's hands, deadly and incredibly precise. It was unclear how Taguchi was still standing, as looking at the number of brutal punches from Inoue, one might think that Taguchi's internal organs were submitting a collective resignation letter. But it seemed that Inoue wasn't chasing a knockout in this fight, methodically dismantling Taguchi piece by piece. In the final rounds, Inoue wasn't fighting with his opponent anymore. He was playing with his victim, as Taguchi's body no longer obeyed him, and the little monster had already tasted his blood. In the end, all the judges unanimously added another victory to Inoue's record and awarded him the title of champion of the land of the rising sun. Another brave soul who dared to challenge Inoue's jaw was the professional boxer Jerson Mancio. Jerson clearly entered the fight not planning to be sent to the canvas, but Inoue didn't ask for his opinion on the matter. So as soon as their bout began, Inoue immediately started relentlessly forcing his opponent onto his hard jabs. And giving him a taste of his lethal hooks. By the fifth round, Inoue unleashed a true storm of punches on Jerson, but to prevent further damage to Jerson's face from this extreme situation, the referee decided to stop this public execution. After this fight, Inoue was given the opportunity to compete for world
ああ
gold.
いうこう地面を滑るような足遣いをしようと思ったらや
In April 2014, Inoue faced a new boss, but in this game, there were no checkpoints, only an elimination game. This was just the 6th fight of the Japanese boxer's career, but the title was already on the line. In the opposite corner stood the experienced Mexican Adrian Hernandez, who was not only the WBA world champion, but had also successfully defended his title 4 times. So, all the spectators, even before the fight began, were mentally burying the newcomer. But when the referee called fight, it became clear within the first few seconds that this was not a fight between experience and youth, but rather a public massacre by the monster Inoue. Hernandez didn't look like a champion. He looked more like a frightened boy, while the Japanese boxer, on the other hand, had the confidence of a champion. Inoue worked relentlessly. He didn't just attack, he dismantled the champion piece by piece, like a child knocking down a house of cards with a single swipe. His punches were delivered so accurately, it was as if he had pre-scripted his opponent's movements, and the Mexican looked as though his title had been bought on sale at Walmart, rather than earned in brutal bouts. Round by round, the Japanese boxer turned the fight into a true humiliation. The spectacle resembled not a fight, but a cold-blooded dismantling. Every hit echoed through Hernandez's body, breaking not just his defense, but his fighting spirit as well. And then Naoya entered the final act. With the brutality of a butcher, he began cracking the champion's head like a squirrel smashing a nut. Hernandez could no longer stand, and soon, Inoue simply forced the champion to bow before him on his knees. In the end, Inoue won and declared to the world that a new champion had arrived in the harsh world of boxing and was determined to become the undisputed champion. In September 2014, the ring with the newly crowned champion was shared by a fighter named Samartlek Kokietjim. As soon as the bell rang, the fighters immediately began exchanging fierce combinations, putting 100% of their power into each strike. But then Inoue decided to show that in this survival game, there are levels, and he had maxed out his. The Japanese boxer crowned himself the emperor of this four-cornered stage and resumed the public execution of his opponent. Inoue threw so many combinations and knocked Samartlek down so many times that it seemed the end was imminent. But by some miracle, Samartlek's jaw withstood all of Inoue's countless artillery shots.
โอ้โหแต่ยังสู้นะครับ3 นัดแรก
กำนันตุ๋ยไตรรัตน์จุรินทร์นายกอบตหนองสายที่จะเป็นประธานจัดงานวันเกิดให้หลวงพ่อรวยวันที่
But in the 10th round, Inoue seemed to activate rage mode and began to beat Samartlek with double the ferocity.
เอาสวนยังมีสวนครับ
โอ้โหโดนเร็วครับ
By the 11th round, the referee finally realized that Samartlek's spirit had long been knocked out and that he wouldn't be able to respond to Inoue, so he decided to stop the fight and save the unfortunate fighter.
ต้องตอบโต้ฮะสามารถเลยโอ้ยอย่างตัวนี่แหละครับโดนย้ำเข้าไปครับ
โอ้กรรมการหยุดเลยครับ
กรรมการยุติเลยครับ
That same year, Inoue moved to the super flyweight division, voluntarily vacating his title. But this move gave the Japanese destroyer a ticket to another violent parade, another title fight where he could claim the WBO belt. In 2014, on the eve of Christmas, the spectators at the stadium witnessed a true boxing execution. The young Naoya Inoue faced the Argentine fighter, who was considered a seasoned WBO champion. It was Omar Narvaez, who had successfully defended his title 27 times and boasted an almost perfect record of 41 wins and just 1 loss, which had been decided by the judges. Therefore, it seemed like Narvaez would secure yet another defense of his belt in this bout. But as soon as the fight began, the Japanese hitman immediately started bombing Narvaez with high-speed missiles, which caused the veteran champion to fall more often than a drunken girl in a bar after 9 shots of tequila. In the second round, Inoue continued to deliver combos on his opponent's head, leading to a knockout and the acquisition of yet another championship title. The next opponent for the Japanese fighter was the experienced boxer Warlito Penas. However, Penas did not see Inoue as an equal opponent, likely due to his relatively short professional record. But the descendant of samurais was determined to prove that Penas had made a fatal mistake. As soon as the fighters entered the ring, Penas immediately donned a clown mask and began taunting Inoue throughout the first round. After each punch, Penas shamelessly questioned Inoue's power in front of the audience, showing his contempt with his body language. But after enduring the mockery throughout the first round, Inoue was determined to knock the arrogance out of Penas in the second. So, he aggressively moved forward, unleashing his deadly arsenal of punches on Penas. And deciding it was time to end the show, Inoue first sent Penas into a brutal knockdown, then mercilessly finished him. Next, the monster's hunger was to be tamed by David Carmona. Their duel began, and from the very first seconds, the two giants created a true Ragnarok inside the 4 corners of the ring. Fans experienced every emotion, not pausing for a second, as Inoue and Carmona seemed to turn the ring into a movie set, with Carmona playing the victim in a thrilling, blood-spilling scene. This wasn't just a fight, it was a chess match between a grandmaster and a child, played out with fists. But it's worth noting that Carmona also fought back fiercely in this brutal exchange. Blood, sweat, and pain blended in a dizzying whirl of this duel, keeping the viewers on the edge of their seats. In the end, after the judge's decision, Inoue secured a confident victory, keeping his WBO belt intact. The next challenger for Inoue was Pechbang-born Kokietjim, who possessed a truly iron jaw, as any Thai fighter should. As their fight began, Inoue immediately started firing his fist barrage at all levels of Kokietjim's defense. Throughout the first half of the fight, Inoue completely demolished Kokietjim with his fierce combinations targeting both the head and the body. Kokietjim attempted to control Inoue in the ring, but the Japanese boxer made it clear that trying to control him was like trying to control a hurricane with bare hands. Then, Inoue began to slowly break down Kokietjim's steel jaw with his fiery punches. And when Inoue had completely knocked the consciousness out of Kokietjim's body, the crowd began watching not just the fight, but a masterpiece of knockout artistry. In the end, Inoue achieved a truly spectacular victory and once again solidified himself as the world champion. After this fight, it seemed the matchmakers were tired of seeing a 0 in Inoue's loss column, and they realized that such an out-of-control fire had to be fought with fire. So, they placed another Japanese fighter, Kohei Kono, as Inoue's next opponent. Kono, a two-time world champion who had twice held the WBA title with 3 successful title defenses, was no stranger to the ring. And the matchmakers were right, as this turned out to be a very tough bout for the Japanese monster. When the bell rang to start this uncompromising fight, the two lightweights immediately began exchanging blows that were as powerful as the military might of an entire army. Each punch felt like it went down to the bones, and the sound of the hits was so forceful that one might think the golden era of heavyweights had returned to the ring. But at one point, Kono seemed to have drunk a secret potion as he began moving faster and hitting harder. However, the monster, true to his nickname, responded with his own hellish combinations. But then, Inoue decided to show all of his deadly grace. In the 10th round, he sent Kono into a brutal knockdown, and then it seemed the monster had coated his gloves with sleeping potion, knocking Kono out cold. In the end, Inoue won and continued his hunt for the heads of other contenders. Next, the Mexican boxer Ricardo Rodriguez stepped up to challenge Inoue. Rodriguez was on a winning streak and clearly had no intention of stopping, but Inoue was determined to show that his fist was the final stop for any jaw. As soon as the fighters were unleashed from their corners, Inoue immediately started probing with his jabs in series. By the third round, the sweet science laureate, having figured out his opponent's tactics and waiting for the perfect moment, sent Rodriguez into a sweet slumber. Another challenger fell dead to the ground from the power of Inoue's punches, but this little monster was still hungry for more loud victories and continued his victorious march forward. The next target in the sights of the Japanese monster was the highly technical Antonio Nieves, with an almost perfect record of 17 wins and only one loss by split decision. He represented a serious threat, but Inoue, as always, laughed in the face of danger.
Here is the introduction to the monster.
The fight began, and the Japanese fighter immediately turned the ring into a prairie, taking on the role of the predator while Nieves played the role of the fleeing prey.
So that's definitely an asset. Behind the jab on a classic 1-2. Just with one.
It's saying such a glowing thing. There's the feint. Inoue wants to wait a little bit to punch him when he's waiting. Or Inoue to punch and land his own shot.
Wait a long time to learn. My father taught him well. He's fundamentally sound. And that power
also punched with Inoue.
Like that physically. Tried to deliver the body. Inoue did a great job of blocking.
Feints and Inoue to get his... Inoue has been a little bit wide.
But amateur fight, so he has had one knockdown scored against him, although he says...
Within moments, Inoue asserted his total control in the ring, forcing Nieves to kneel before him.
There, and here Inoue has him ready to go to the body. Yup, there it is.
First time down as a pro. Back just a little bit. Left hand to the body. Placement rather than power. Now combinations.
10-second warning clap and thought it was the bell.
That saved Nieves right there. Sometimes the game plan can go out the window. And when you're getting hit heavy, with heavy shots to the head and the body. Absolutely.
He's a pick-em type puncher until he gets his guy hurt.
This is just a brilliant round. This was a one-sided.
Because what's impressive about Inoue is their imagination and really look devastating. Make some water cooler buzz the next, on Monday at work. And if he scores...
By the 6th round, Inoue was completely dominating Nieves.
Not surprisingly, and winning the first 2 rounds.
Inoue is trying to pick up where he left off. Nieves was hurt in that last round.
Use kind of classic technical defense. You think that'll be
a lot about the power of Inoue, but as he mentioned, all the bands in the body right now. He'll protect the head, but the body can't move.
Right now.
The referee has to keep a close look on Nieves.
17-1-2. His first loss in the last fight.
He's going to get worse as this fight progresses. Big right hand
to the body.
From Inoue right now.
Nieves' cornerman, realizing they had to save their fighter from the monster's grasp, stopped the fight.
Del Guide has a decision to make. And he has made the decision.
Inoue was declared the winner, and he continued to add to his record with loud knockouts.
Naoya Monster Inoue.
In his next fight, Inoue made his opponent, Boyeaux, run a marathon in the ring. The fight began, and Inoue's impenetrable defense absorbed all of Boyeaux's punches, while his deadly attack sent Boyeaux crashing to the canvas. Then the monster seemed to want a piece of his opponent's liver, so he twice turned it into a chop, making Boyeaux regret ever signing the contract for the fight. After that, the Japanese monster simply decided to finish his breakfast. In his next match, Inoue was given a challenge at the hard level, a boxer named Jamie McDonnell, who was the WBA world champion and who had never been knocked out in his career, who boasted 30 wins and 2 losses.
Followed it up straight away as well, and Pozo's rattled. And he's hurt.
McDonnell knew that his opponent was another monster in human form, and he prepared even during the introductions. However, the Japanese fighter was determined to show that all of McDonnell's preparations were in vain. As soon as the referee signaled the start, Inoue rushed the fight, making it seem like he was in a hurry to catch a Black Friday sale. Once the playful exchanges were over, Inoue unleashed a brutal combination, which resulted in the first knockout loss of McDonnell's career and added the WBA title to Inoue's collection. After just 6 years of his crusade across the souls of boxers, the Japanese Reaper was invited to the World Boxing Super Series, where the best of the best compete for the title of the strongest. In addition to that, the winner was awarded the Great Muhammad Ali Trophy. The quarterfinals of the Super Series took place in October 2018. Inoue's opponent in the tournament bracket was the Dominican Juan Carlos Penas, who had previously held both the WBA and WBO belts. Just his presence on the list of Super Series participants made him a dangerous opponent, as the fighters in this gathering of killers were second to none.
So here we go then.
The duel began, and Penas immediately started breaking through Inoue's defense with his heavy-hitting shots.
Penas competing in his 22nd professional bout tonight.
However, Inoue was determined to prove that even among such skilled fighters, he was untouchable. He set out to demonstrate the lethal power of his fists.
Left-right combination, and Penas has stretched on the canvas, and you know where he is, he's face down, the referee is holding the canvas.
In the end, Inoue delivered a spectacular victory and showed that in the world of knockout artistry, he was Leonardo da Vinci.
And those who questioned whether he could carry it.
In the semifinals of the Super Series, Inoue faced the undefeated Puerto Rican prodigy Emmanuel Rodriguez, who had an intimidating record of 19-0, with 11 of those wins coming by loud knockouts.
Oh, the left hook. This is really bad. Oh, big punches to the head, and Balor's in a whole heap of trouble. Combination of body shot with second left. Rodriguez going for the finish. What a
But in this fight, the desire to win took a back seat, as the Japanese killer's sole purpose was to exact revenge for the disrespect shown to his father. This incident had occurred in the gym before the fight. Rodriguez's coach had arrogantly pushed Inoue's father right in front of him, showing utter disrespect. Inoue swore that he would take revenge on this cocky coach by brutally destroying his protege. The fateful day arrived, and driven by a thirst for vengeance, Inoue decided not to give in to his emotions, but to let his fists talk for him.
Inoue from Japan.
As the fight began, Rodriguez immediately started applying heavy pressure. However, the anger inside Inoue fueled his strength, and by the second round, he unleashed his sniper-like precision and sent Rodriguez crashing to the canvas.
For this fight, and he's got into from Inoue. This is a fearsome flurry, and he's down. He's got him with a left for the first time in his career. Rodriguez in the second.
By some miracle, Rodriguez managed to get up, but Inoue, adhering to the samurai code, decided to finish his opponent once and for all.
Ready to go again is Rodriguez. Here comes Inoue. Oh, he's got it to the Inoue. He's waiting. 2 minutes to go, Jam. Oh, this is unbelievable from Inoue. Third time he's gone down. Rocks to the core. Another count.
In the end, Inoue claimed victory and captured the IBF title, delivering a brutal revenge on the shameless coach by handing his protege the first loss of his career. Inoue advanced to the final of the Super Series, unaware that this fight would become pivotal for him. No one had ever made him work so hard in his victorious career. In this fight, the Japanese bounty hunter became the prey as he faced the Filipino Nonito Donaire, who was not only a brutal knockout artist, but also a master of flawless technique. Everyone in the arena knew that a real hell would unfold in the ring.
Of a sublime career. In many ways, the man opposite him represents...
As soon as the bell started this apocalyptic fight, Donaire immediately began his boxing monologue, not allowing Inoue to dictate the flow of the bout.
Knocks him off balance. As Donaire comes back with a 1-2.
Donaire, almost like Van Helsing, was the first to draw blood from the monster. Inoue's fans began to worry about his previously spotless record.
The ones that Donaire isn't able to read, but he's walking through them so far. Catches Inoue on the...
However, with blood pouring from his eye, Inoue began to show why he was called the monster. With insane fighting spirit, he relentlessly hunted Donaire's body.
Down catch to give it. This is good stuff from Inoue. Terrific combinations.
From a superb 5.5 rounds.
Variations. Head, body. Cannot miss at the minute. Worrying times for Donaire. Lovely work from Inoue.
It won't be long before he's
inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's a good finish from Inoue, it really is.
But even that wasn't enough for Nonito, and it seemed like the Filipino was on the verge of burying Inoue's perfect record.
Expect Donaire to let some big shots of his own go. Still 11 rounds, but is this the end? Check left hook now. He's hurting. Amazing, and hats off to both guys.
Yet Inoue seemed to activate Berserker mode, fighting like never before.
Given the legendary status of the boxing, they will want him to finish on his feet.
At the finish line, both fighters were neck and neck for victory. But in the 11th round, Inoue delivered a sniper-like liver shot that shook his opponent, earning the judges' recognition of him as the stronger fighter.
Very often. This is the home crowd now, really get behind him. That's a lovely left to the body. Lovely shot. I don't know what the ref's doing. He's counting now. That was a lovely left.
Winning by unanimous decision and barely managing to preserve his undefeated record, Inoue triumphed in the World Boxing Super Series and claimed the Muhammad Ali Trophy, solidifying his status as a kaiju in the boxing world. Naoya Inoue has dominated the ring for the past 13 years, proving with his fists that, for now, no one can rival him.
A fearsome flurry, and he's down. He's got him with a left for the first.
However, among the modern geniuses of the sweet science, there is another Nobel laureate, Gervonta Tank Davis.
Stepping back the head of Gervonta. Oh, down goes Santa Cruz. Over Mesos, down goes.
Oh, vicious right hand.
Share your thoughts on what would happen if these two supernova boxers shared the ring in their primes, who would emerge victorious, and who would deliver the knockout. This was Boxing Game. See you soon.